I am Mariana Lopez, born March 12, 1988, in Veracruz, Mexico. I was raised in the shadows of dark rituals, a witch trained to carry out assignments that targeted God-fearing believers. I am not telling a story I heard, I lived it. I entered homes, walked past sanctuaries, and felt the invisible barriers that even my powers could not cross. You must like this video, you must comment, you must share this warning now. Every second matters, because the hidden spiritual truths I reveal today will ignite your eyes and protect your home. Watch until the very end, do not stop, because what you are about to learn could change the way you live and guard your family forever. There was one thing that stopped us every single time. Not a prayer spoken out loud, not a pastor present, not even the name of Jesus shouted in fear. It was something quieter, something placed, something established long before we arrived. I remember the first night I learned this lesson the hard way. We were sent to a home that looked ordinary. No crosses on the wall, no worship music, no visible signs of faith. But the moment I stepped onto the property, my chest tightened, my vision blurred, the atmosphere shifted. Something was wrong. We had entered countless homes before, homes of believers, homes of prayer warriors, homes of people who fasted. Those were our primary targets. We did not attack unbelievers. They were already exposed, already unguarded. Our assignments focused on believers who carried destiny, people marked for impact, people whose prayers disrupted darkness. That night, as I approached the front door, I felt resistance, not fear. Resistance. It felt like walking against a violent wind no one else could see. I tried to push forward. I whispered the incantations I had been trained with. I activated the symbols in my mind. Nothing worked. Instead, something pushed back. Inside that home was one thing we were trained to avoid. One thing we were warned about in the covens. One thing that cancelled assignments instantly. A house that had been dedicated and sealed. Not casually prayed over, not blessed once and forgotten. Dedicated, sealed. You must understand this. Darkness recognizes authority structures. Darkness studies boundaries. Darkness obeys spiritual laws more strictly than humans do. When a home is spiritually sealed under divine authority, it becomes illegal territory, not dangerous, illegal. We were taught this early. Never enter what is sealed by covenant, they told us. Never cross what is marked by blood and authority. That home had been verbally surrendered to God. Out loud, with intention, with permanence. Someone in that house had spoken words that established jurisdiction. Words spoken with authority create borders. I stood frozen. My body refused to move forward. Inside my spirit, alarms were going off, not emotional alarms, spiritual ones. I could feel watchers, not demons, not humans. Watchers of another kind. The house had something placed inside it, not an object for decoration, not religious furniture. It was the conscious presence of God invited and maintained. This is what believers rarely understand. God does not force His presence into homes. He is invited, then honored, then enforced. That home had been verbally declared as God's territory, over and over, day after day. You cannot imagine how powerful that is. We could enter churches easier than homes like that, because many churches are buildings, but that house was an altar. Every witch learns this truth. Altars compete, and the stronger altar dominates the territory. In that home, the altar of God was active, not symbolic. Active. Someone prayed there regularly, not rushed prayers, not desperate prayers, authority prayers. The kind spoken by someone who knows who they are. When we tried to step closer, the pressure increased. Our ears rang. Our thoughts scattered. We were exposed. When darkness is exposed, it retreats. We left immediately. No fight, no argument, no negotiation. We reported the failure. And do you know what the leader said? Never return to that address. That one thing inside the home made it untouchable. Not a charm. Not oil alone. Not words without belief. It was a house under covenant alignment. Let me make this painfully clear. It wasn't perfection. It wasn't sinlessness. It wasn't religious activity. It was ownership. Someone had claimed that home for God and continued to enforce that claim. Dark spirits are legalists. They look for access points. Unsealed homes provide access. Dedicated homes deny it. I saw this repeatedly. Homes where believers attended church but never dedicated their space. Homes where prayer happened occasionally, but authority was never established. Homes where fear ruled instead of confidence. Those homes were vulnerable. But the homes that carried this one thing, they were avoided, marked, respected, feared. You may be asking yourself now, is my home sealed? Have I established authority? Have I spoken ownership? These are not emotional questions. They are legal ones in the spirit. Darkness does not guess, it checks. And if it finds no seal, it enters. I am telling you this with urgency because many believers pray but never establish jurisdiction. They invite God but never give Him ownership. They ask for protection but never enforce authority. That one thing we could never enter was a home consciously and continually dedicated to God's authority. Not once, not casually, but permanently. This is not theory. This is experience. I was on the other side. I carried assignments. I tested boundaries. And this boundary never failed. What I am about to reveal in the next point goes even deeper. Because this dedication does something else that most believers have never been taught. What most believers never realize is when a home is truly dedicated, it does more than block entry. It exposes surveillance. Every assignment we carried began with observation. Weeks of watching, listening, measuring patterns. We did not rush. We studied. Darkness never attacks blindly. We monitored prayer habits, sleep cycles, emotional weak points, moments of exhaustion, moments of offense. That is how access was gained. But homes with that one thing disrupted surveillance itself. I remember standing across the street from one such house. We had permission to observe, but not to enter. That alone should tell you something. The moment we tried to watch, confusion hit us. Thoughts scattered. Focus collapsed. It was like trying to read through fire. This is something believers are never told. A sealed home does not just repel attack. It blinds the enemy. Because when God's authority fills a space, unauthorized observers are exposed. We could not hear conversations clearly. We could not track routines. We could not identify emotional fractures. Why? Because the atmosphere was governed. Spiritual authority creates interference. It disrupts monitoring. It scrambles signals. It neutralizes familiar spirits assigned to observe. That home had been verbally declared as a place of peace, not emotional peace, governmental peace. Peace enforced by authority is not passive. It is defensive and aggressive at the same time. When we attempted to assign watchers, they reported discomfort, pressure, loss of clarity. Some reported hearing worship when none was playing. Others reported intense heat. Others felt compelled to leave without knowing why. This is not imagination. This is spiritual jurisdiction at work. Believers think demons fear loud prayers. They don't. They fear consistent authority. They fear environments where God is not visiting, but residing. A sealed home becomes a spiritual embassy, governed by a higher kingdom, protected by law. Inside those homes, angels were stationed, not floating, stationed, positioned with purpose. We learned quickly that surveillance assignments failed there. And without surveillance, attack plans collapse. You cannot attack what you cannot map. This is why many believers experience sudden chaos, sudden arguments, sudden heaviness, because surveillance was successful. The enemy knew when to strike. But when a home carries that one thing, timing collapses. Attacks miss time. Confusion increases on the dark side. I remember one leader screaming in frustration, "They are invisible to us," he said. That was not metaphor. The house had been covered verbally every morning, every night. Not repetitive prayers, authoritative declarations. God, this house belongs to you. Every room is yours. No spirit may enter uninvited. Those words matter. Spoken authority creates enforcement. Darkness obeys spoken authority more than silent belief. That is why many believers love God but live exposed. Belief without declaration leaves gaps. That home had no gaps. Even the children were covered, spoken over, declared, protected children. Under authority disrupts assignments more than adults realize. We were warned, do not attempt infiltration through dreams. Do not attempt emotional manipulation. Do not attempt illness. Everything bounced back because authority had been established over sleep, over emotions, over health. That one thing, the dedication, activated layered protection. Most believers think protection is singular. It is not. It is layered, territorial, legal. And when those layers are active, darkness suffers losses. We lost spirits attempting to linger near those homes. They did not return. This created fear. Yes, fear, which is fear homes governed by God, not because of noise, not because of religion, but because of authority. I am warning you now. If your home has not been verbally dedicated, if authority has not been established, if ownership has not been declared, then surveillance is possible. And surveillance precedes attack. But when you dedicate your home correctly, you don't just stop entry. You erase visibility. And what darkness cannot see, it cannot destroy. What I will reveal in the next point explains why some believers feel peace even in chaos and others collapse under pressure. There is another truth that terrified us. Homes with that one thing did not just resist attack, they reversed it. This is where many believers misunderstand spiritual warfare. They think protection means survival. They think victory means escaping damage. But true authority does more than protect. It retaliates. I learned this after one assignment that should have been simple. A believer, isolated, going through pressure, perfect timing, at least that is what the report said. But the moment we initiated the assignment, something turned. Not emotionally. Spiritually, it felt like stepping into a current flowing the opposite direction. Every intent we released came back intensified. Confusion returned to us. Fatigue hit us. Nightmares followed. This is when the leaders realized something. That home was not only sealed, it was activated. You must understand this. A dedicated home that remains spiritually active becomes a launch point, not just a shelter. It releases pressure into the unseen realm. When believers maintain authority consistently, the spiritual atmosphere shifts outward. Territory expands. That home had been declared as a place of prayer. But more than that, a place of agreement. Husband and wife prayed together, not emotionally, in unity. Unity multiplies authority. This is something darkness fears deeply. Divided homes are easy. Unified homes are deadly to assignments. When agreement is present, authority increases exponentially. That home had peace. But it was not passive peace. It was enforced peace. Every attempt to stir conflict failed. Every attempt to create misunderstanding collapsed because agreement had already been established verbally. They had spoken against division, against confusion, against strife. Words spoken in agreement create spiritual infrastructure. This is why some believers remain calm in storms. Their environment is governed, not reactive. We tried indirect routes, dream manipulation, emotional pressure, external stress. Nothing worked. Instead, the pressure returned stronger. Some witches involved fell ill. Others experienced sudden fear. Some lost clarity in rituals. This is when it became clear. Homes under authority don't just block darkness, they expose it. And exposure brings consequences. That one thing inside the home dedication under God's authority created a legal reversal system. Assignments bounced back. Energy collapsed. Plans dissolved. We were warned after that incident, do not engage homes that retaliate. They are covered under higher law. Higher law, that phrase matters. Spiritual warfare is legal warfare. Authority determines outcomes. Believers often pray emotionally. Darkness operates legally. But when believers pray with authority, they enter legal ground. That home had spoken laws into place. No weapon formed here will prosper. Any plan against this house will fail. Those were not quotes. They were decrees. Decrees establish reality in the unseen. The home became a danger zone for darkness, not because of the people's strength, but because of God's authority enforced through them. This is why many believers feel drained. They survive attacks instead of reversing them. They endure instead of enforcing. But when a home is dedicated and active, endurance turns into dominion. That home influenced surrounding territory. Neighbors experience peace. Conflicts resolved unexpectedly. Fear lifted. We notice this. Territory shifts attract attention. But when darkness cannot penetrate, it withdraws. I am telling you this because many of you have been fighting alone. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Not realizing that your home is meant to fight with you. Your space matters. Walls hear declaration. Rooms retain authority. What you speak regularly becomes law. Homes without dedication absorb chaos. Homes under authority release order. This is not symbolism. This is jurisdiction. The one thing we could never enter was not an object. It was established dominion, maintained, reinforced, enforced. In the next point, I will reveal why some believers experience sudden breakthroughs after dedicating their homes and why darkness retreats permanently from certain spaces. This is the final truth that broke me, not because it frightened me, but because it exposed how much power believers never use. Homes that carried that one thing did something irreversible. They changed assignment routes permanently. Darkness does not waste resources. When access is denied repeatedly, locations are reclassified. I saw the report. I heard the language. Unproductive. Restricted. High risk. Those were the terms used for homes under authority. Once a home was consistently dedicated, it was removed from rotation. Not delayed, removed. This is something few believers will ever be told. Darkness keeps lists. Targets are evaluated, revisited, reassigned. But when a home proves inaccessible, it is abandoned. That home becomes a dead zone for darkness, not because attacks never try again, but because losses accumulate. Darkness retreats where it cannot win. I remember a house that had been targeted for years. Chaos, illness, financial pressure, constant fear. Then something changed. The owners dedicated the house intentionally, room by room, not emotionally, legally. They spoke authority over thresholds, over doorways, over bedrooms. They did not shout, they declared. After that, assignments failed again and again. Within months, the address was removed. I witnessed the relief in the unseen. Pressure lifted. Surveillance stopped. Interference ended. And something else happened. Blessing accelerated. This is not coincidence. When darkness is removed, space opens. Peace increases. Clarity returns. Opportunity aligns. That is why some believers experience sudden breakthroughs after dedication, not because God suddenly noticed them, but because resistance was removed. That one thing, consistent dedication under authority, closed the case. Let me be clear. Dedication is not a one-time ritual. It is a posture. Homes that remained abandoned were those where dedication faded, authority stopped being spoken. Fear crept back in. Darkness returned only where authority was neglected. But homes that maintained it stayed off limits. Those homes carried confidence, not arrogance. Confidence. Confidence in identity. Confidence in ownership. Confidence in authority. Believers underestimate how much confidence disrupts darkness. Fear opens doors, confidence seals them. I am sharing this because many of you have been praying for change, praying for relief, praying for protection. But prayer without authority is incomplete. God responds to faith expressed through action and declaration. Your home is not neutral. It is either governed or vulnerable. There is no middle ground. The one thing we could never enter was a home that knew who owned it, not who lived there, who governed it. And once darkness accepted that reality, it did not return. This is why I speak now with urgency, with regret, with warning. I participated in assignments. I tested boundaries. I learned the rules of the unseen. And this rule never changed. Authority maintained always wins. You are not powerless. Your home is not defenseless. Your space can become untouchable. What you do after watching this matters. You have heard what darkness never wanted revealed, and now you are accountable for what you know. Comment to declare that your home belongs to God. Share this message to protect others, and never forget why watching until the very end mattered. Your authority has been restored. Your ground has been reclaimed, and your space is no longer negotiable. Stand firm, speak boldly, and enforce what has already been given to you. This is not a moment, this is a shift. Victory is established.